Okay, come on over here. Michael Muscari is going to be speaking a little bit about the Frederick Douglass Republicans. I had the pleasure of meeting him last summer, and I think their organization has some really good stuff to say as well. So I'm going to hand it over to him, and you got about 10 minutes, so here you go.
Hopefully I won't take 10 minutes, but that's great. I'm delighted to see all of you here. Thank you. One thing about Douglass was, to start, he was a slave. He was born in 1818, which is the same year that Karl Marx was born. Go figure that. And they are as polar opposite as you can imagine. Douglass grew up a slave on the shores of Maryland, and his mother lived in a plantation about 20 miles away. He saw her maybe half a dozen times in his life. And at 10 years of age is when he got his first pair of shoes. But it's a remarkable story because Douglass escaped when he was 20 years old. And they caught him, and they brought him back, and his own father just about whipped him to the inch of his life. And he vowed that he would escape again, but this time they would not catch him. For when Douglass grew up, he was allowed to come and sit in on the educational sessions of the slave master's wife and their sons. So he learned to read. He learned to write. He learned to read maps. He learned a lot of things. There was a publication called the Columbia Orator, and he took that publication, and it was a collection of speeches from very erudite, very famous leaders from all over the world. And he actually memorized many of these speeches. So when he escaped the second time, he flees to go to Boston, because in Maryland he had learned to be what's known as a ship's caulker, meaning that he would caulk the lines in the sides of the ship to keep it from leaking. Well, he gets to Boston, and those Italians and the Irishmen look at him like, "You're not going to be a ship's caulker. Too bad for you." So what do? He goes down to Faneuil Hall in the middle of Boston, stands on a soapbox, puts his top hat down, and he recalls some of these speeches by these people that he read about in the Columbia Orator. And he starts sharing these speeches. And right away, he becomes really quite the personality. And the people in Boston just were really transfixed. Well, at that point, he met a guy that was head of the abolitionist movement, Henry Lloyd Garrison. And Garrison told him, "Look, don't talk about yourself, we just want to talk about your history." Well, later, in about 1856 or 8, somewhere there, the Republican Party was founded. And Frederick Douglass was among those who were there at that initial meeting that was organizing the Republican Party in the United States. So many people consider him a founding father in his own right. As we look at those, and if we look at his life, and you'll see I handed out to many of you this list of 12 life-empowering values. And this really is what separates Douglass from so many. I would say he probably is the person in our history who has written and spoken more about liberty than anyone ever. So at this point, I encourage you to hang on to those and make copies of them, hand them to your friends, whatever. But we have a watchword. We say, values unite, issues divide. And when you look at the Bible, you look at the Constitution, there are very specific values. And when people in politics attempt to pound us with an issue, we have to remember the most important thing is to go back to the essential values. What values are they sharing? And that really is the linchpin that separates the beast from the rest, so to speak. So I want to encourage you to be encouraged. We are living in unusual times. Many people, many Christians would say we are living in end times. And given that that's the case, that really puts the onus on us to stand up and be more active every day. Be the example that you want to see. So I am delighted to be here. I love coming, and I love the opportunity to see and meet all of you. And just keep in mind that Douglass is the guy that can take the next step. When you start talking with people who have grandchildren, children, history has not been taught as it really has evolved. So I want to encourage you to leverage Douglass to do that. Got some books. K. Carl Smith, our founder, wrote a book called about Douglass. They're $20, and you can certainly pick one of those up. But thank you, Karina.
Thank you so much for coming today. This is the book, the Frederick Douglass Republicans, and it's not sold through me, it's directly to Michael. We do not get a cut of that. So please see Michael if you're interested in the book. Next, a sec.